Hi, it's Dennis Daly. Nice to have you along on All Week Theater, where we take a classic radio episode and play it out over 5 days. And now, more of the Halls of Ivy.
Dr. Hall's at a luncheon, Miss Lee, but I'm sure he'll be home very soon if you'd like to wait.
I'm afraid I'd better not, Mrs. Hall. Thank you. My train leaves in an hour. But Dr. Hall has always been so nice to me. He's such a fine man. I thought I owed it to him to explain why I'm leaving Ivy.
Leaving Ivy, Miss Lee? But I thought... Well, aren't you the Margaret Lee who's up for president of the Student Council?
Was, Mrs. Hall. The field is now open for a new candidate. One with lower marks, possibly, but a higher social standing. Perhaps one whose family is less than 4,000 years old. Oh, Mrs. Hall, my father was so proud of me. And now...
No, please, dear. Now, sit down. There. Why don't you cry a little? It helps sometimes, you know. Tears are a sort of window washing operation. You see things a little more clearly through the panes.
I've cried myself dry, Mrs. Hall. Some of it was self-pity, I guess, and some of it was... Well, I suppose I just overrated the decency of the student body.
I think it far more likely, my dear, that a few members of it have underrated you. You mustn't condemn an institution because some of its windows rattle. Dr. Hall is going to be very disturbed about this.
Do you know how vicious student politics can be, Mrs. Hall?
Well, no, I'm afraid I don't, my dear. But if they're anything like backstage politics, which I happen to have known intimately, they can give you a pretty rough time. I've been up against a great deal of snobbery and discrimination myself.
In England, as an English woman, among English people.
Yes, and here, too. In fact, 4 or 5 weeks ago, I wasn't sure that I was welcome at Ivy. Even Dr. Hall was none too certain. But your case cuts a little deeper. I realize that.
You'll never know how deep, Mrs. Hall, I hope. I flattered myself that I'd been accepted, that my scholarship record and my fitness for the presidency would make up for my being an alien, but... Well, the organized ostracism...
Oh, I'm sure, Margaret, that a handful of unthinking...
Don't try, Mrs. Hall. My people have always won by retreating. Maybe I'm making history. I'm retreating without winning. I guess I just didn't realize how well the Exclusion Act was enforced.
I'm afraid I'm not too well equipped to cope with this, Margaret. But I'm sure you know how I feel about it.
I do, Mrs. Hall, and I'm grateful. And please tell Dr. Hall how I appreciate everything he's...
Home is the sailor, home from the sea. Have you, my Popsy, a welcome for me?
Take it, matey. Have a nice luncheon.
Yes, my dear, quite pleasant. Mr. Wellman paid the check.
It's nice of him.
Nice of him. My dear girl, you can't dismiss an announcement of this importance with any such offhand remark. Mr. Wellman paying a luncheon check is as world-shaking as the discovery of the wheel.
You mean Mr. Wellman is tight, Toddy?
Tight is rather a brutal way to express it, Victoria, but I find it charmingly accurate. Mr. Wellman is extremely imminent in the sense of being close. I have heard that he launders his pipe cleaners.
I suppose he got so tremendously rich throwing his money about.
Vicky, darling, Mr. Wellman throwing his money about is a spectacle which Mr. Cecil J. DeMille...
B.
Hmm?
Cecil B. DeMille, B for bathtub.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes. Mr. Wellman throwing his money about is a spectacle which Mr. Cecil B. DeMille wouldn't even attempt. And I recall how generous, yes, even spontaneously generous, Mr. Wellman has been with his millions for this school, and how frugal he can be.
So join me next time when I take a classic old-time radio episode and split it up into 5 easy-to-digest pieces, right here on All Week Theater.